Hello everyone, welcome once again to Pixar Discussions. I am Captain Logan.
And I am the Geoff.
And today we are going to talk about Toy Story 3, and I have been really looking forward to this one for a couple of reasons. First of all, because I really like it, and second of all, because this is the one that Geoff hasn't seen. The one
and only
that Geoff hadn't seen. We just got through watching it about half an hour ago, and Geoff did not watch it even before coming and watching it with me. So I got to watch Geoff see this for the first time and get his immediate reactions to things. And but we've not talked about it at all. A lot of these we'll bring up stuff while we're watching and say things back and forth and stuff. This time we were pretty isolated. And didn't really say anything, and I kind of did that on purpose because I kind of wanted to get your first reaction on this, but I did get to hear him chuckle and stuff, so he at least enjoyed at least parts of it. Geoff, right away, why don't you give me your instant reaction to this and how it stacks up to the others?
I didn't know quite what to do with this movie.
Really? Okay.
In the sense that it had things that I enjoyed terrifically. I think more than any other Pixar movie that I have ever seen before or since, this movie kept taking me to emotional places that I really did not want to be.
Oh, interesting. Are you talking like unsettling and unnerving kinds of places?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is far and away the most painful Pixar movie I've ever seen. Not painful in the sense of it being a bad movie, but painful in that it went to places that hurt me, and it did so again, and then it did that again. I don't think I'll watch this again.
Wow. Would you say that it did it intentionally?
Oh yeah, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's effective at that stuff.
It does what movies are supposed to do, and...
okay. So you're not calling it a bad movie?
That's not a criticism of the movie.
Wow, okay. So you're not even saying you wouldn't recommend it?
No, I don't think I'd say that.
Or maybe you wouldn't recommend it for people who don't want to be depressed in the way you were depressed.
Yeah, I would not recommend it to anybody who, like me, feels that the point of watching movies is not to get depressed.
Wow, okay. Because the thing is, you're absolutely right, that stuff's there. That's a lot of what I actually kind of like about it, but I do think that it has a decent balance of you know, the drama and humor. There's a lot of hilarity.
I would not forgive it if there were not a great deal of fun.
Okay, so let's go ahead and then just jump into the feelings you had there. Then, what about it was so depressing? Like, I guess we should just touch on go ahead and dive into story and theme then.
That seems like a place to dive.
Go ahead.
Because it seems to me that this is largely about the issues of separation and loss, and of what happens in a relationship between two entities when one of them is a thing that by nature changes and the other one does not.
And they're going off in different places. Except that you're right, one's going off in a different place and one needed the other person to remain rigid.
Yeah, I mean that, and every phase of this movie comes right back around to that, it seems. In the whole going to college thing at the beginning, and then coming back around to the donation, and then coming back around to the daycare center thing, coming back around to the conflict between Woody and the other toys. Again.
Yeah.
I'll hit that point later.
I think I'm probably going to agree with you on that, but yeah, go ahead.
And then the thing with Bonnie, and then the thing with the other thing, and then they're back. And then the backstory for the villain, and I'll hit that point later too. And then about 10 solid minutes, it seemed like, in the end, of solid goodbye, heart-wrench, goodbye, heart-wrench, goodbye, heart-wrench. Which many people have a better threshold of tolerance for that than I do.
Wow,
admit that openly.
Did that actually bug you? Because in the theater, that was for me like the thing that really sold me on it.
Yeah, that I was uncompensated for that, And
Wow.
not even the little, not even the fun bits of the credits were enough to pay back the
Are you talking about just
emotional density.
Are you just talking about Andy playing with the girl with the toys at the end, and
Yeah,
going,
even
going
him
through
playing
everybody
with them
in the box? Like,
was not enough to compensate that sort of one by one parceling them out, and that sort of strange moment of the box and then driving and.
wow, I don't agree with you at all on that. I thought all that was wonderful. I'm gonna argue with you that if you watched all three of these in a row, that's really good payoff stuff. Like they kind of, you see a lot of movies that trilogies that weren't meant to be trilogies. This is one of those, and I think that it ultimately, actually, especially with the end and giving them, giving the toys a home and kind of reinforcing what it was that Andy loved about them in the first place, that it actually kind of helps give the thing a resolution and make it more of a 3-act thing. I think
that's cool.
I think each film is more about. I think each film is about slightly something different. And that when you, like I said, when you get to the end, there is that nice resolution. And you're right. It is about aging and growing up and going places and also getting old, which is interesting. This coming off of Up.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of about that stuff. But but what was it about that was hard for you to watch? Like,
well, that was. I know it was too high in emotional density for me.
Oh, okay, all right.
Too much, and that doesn't mean it was a bad thing. Doesn't mean it was badly done. It certainly doesn't mean it was badly done. It maybe means it was very well done, because it was.
Because it affected you emotionally, and you didn't.
It hit exactly where I'm sure
Wow.
it was supposed to hit.
Are you calling this movie too powerful?
So it was too much for me.
Wow. Okay. All right. Fair enough. And understand, I am not making fun of you. I think it's a very powerful movie too. But so I'm not saying, oh, you thought this kids Pixar movie was too powerful. No, we've all cried watching some of these movies. We've talked about that with Up. We've talked about that with other things. And this and I have that thing with cars that nobody else has. But like this movie has that in spades, and I don't know. I kind of dug it. I would make the argument that if this movie doesn't go there, it verges on possibly being superfluous.
True. I mean, it's hard to imagine any other reason to make a third movie in this series, other than to tackle this gigantic elephant in the room that's sort of been menacing in the background, in the shadows of the first two movies, like that shadow of Darth Vader behind Anakin in the poster for
that wasn't in
Star Wars,
that
the Jar Jar story.
That's hilarious. That poster, there's more to analyze in that poster than there is in that film.
It's a good poster.
Yeah, it's a great poster.
But I mean, yeah,
I'm kidding.
If they weren't going to tackle that, then it probably does not make sense. It probably would not have made sense for them to make another movie. And as far as I know, there's no serious plan on the table to make another one.
Yeah, I don't know. I read something somewhere a year or two ago that they were talking about a Toy Story 4, but I don't know if that's still on the table, so I have no idea. They did put out a short last year. There's like a 15-20 minute standalone DVD thing that's another Toy Story thing. And it might continue to exist in that way, which I think is a great idea. I mean, like, because I think there's certainly plenty of just kind of fun cartoon stories you can tell with these characters, and I would say that of everything Pixar has, of all their franchises now, that this is probably the one that makes the most sense to keep around in some way. I don't know if we need like a 2-hour movie every 5 years, but like I could even see like a animated series.
Yeah, this would make a great half-hour Saturday cartoon. The bed is perfectly made for that, and
especially with the status quo we have at the end of this.
They set things up at the end in such a way to make that very, very possible, and the only thing they did to limit themselves was to have some of the original toys disappear.
Yeah,
which Actually, and I don't know the whole motivation behind. I do know that they had to redesign all of their models for this movie.
Oh, I didn't know that even.
They they had they had gotten new computers since they did the last Toy Story movie, and they found that they were only partially able to open the files.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Because version 6.0, version 7.0.
Okay, but they had to create a bunch of new characters for this movie. So, like if there were other characters that used to exist that they wanted, I'm sure they would have taken the time to build them. I'm not sure if that's the reason. I kind of think it's just the realistic nature of the kid 17 and got rid of a lot of stuff. Most kids do that. I know you and I keep a lot of stuff, but not everybody's like that.
No, exactly.
And it's not like I'm just thinking of logistics of that house. Not like he's got a giant room or anything. I mean, I can really see.
He's out of space.
He gets, and plus he's also got that kind of mom that is periodically going put things in a yard sale. So I mean, like some of that is upbringing, right? Some of that is having a parent that says, at a certain age you are too old for certain things, maybe a little bit. I mean, she lets him keep whatever he wants to keep, but then at the same time she does kind of.
There's always that pressure.
Yeah, there does seem to always. Well, and you remember that the yard sale in 2, pretty sizable yard sale. Yeah. They get rid of things in this family, is all I'm saying.
Plus, there were so many new characters to deal with in the daycare center, and then Bonnie's toys. There are just so many that for them to have the entire herd of cast that they had built up from the first 2 movies, there just would have been too many characters.
Well, they couldn't have given everybody moments, is the thing. Like they could have been there and had kind of sort of cameos and things, but with the more manageable set that you have in this, everybody gets moments, and nobody feels like they're barely there, like your favorite character doesn't get, And I would make the argument that they probably didn't get rid of very many people's favorite characters because most of the characters they got rid of are peripheral characters anyway. Do you think that it's
I was gonna guess it was that they couldn't get the voice actor back, but then I realized half of those never had lines.
Didn't really have lines. Yeah, I mean you got the Bo Peep thing, but and then like Squeaker, the actor for that guy died, but other than that, most of them were pretty peripheral anyway. Let me ask you this, getting a little broader for a minute. Do you think that, was it jarring for you that the movie has such a time jump?
Not really.
Because with this one, that was kind of okay with it, especially because they ease us into it by giving us more Kid Andy at the beginning and reminding us, I think it's really smart to open that movie with he's playing with his toys and getting it even kind of in his imagination the way we do.
In case you didn't see the other 2.
I don't think it's just for the. I think it's reminding us why we love those movies so much, and I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, I could see the art. I could see the complaint of.
As a matter of balance, that was vital.
I could see the complaint that a person might make. I didn't have this, but I could see someone looking back on it saying it's hitting too many of the old notes. That when you have that opening scene that's in Andy's mind. You've got like the force field dog line, and you got like we're seeing all that playing on a grand scale. But I think that's kind of fun because it's like, okay, we saw a lot of that stuff on the small scale in his room, and then now we get to sort of see it like in his mind, like it's a big budget movie. And I think that's kind of a fun thing to do.
Cool. Getting 2 or 3 obvious, callback lines in a row did some harm for me to that opening sequence.
Okay.
Especially after the first one, and then I said, well, I got my dog with the built-in force field. Well, I brought my dinosaur that eats force field dogs. Oh. If it had been just one of them, that would have been funny. 2 of them, okay. But when it started to feel like it was going to be a lot of them, and they're going to keep doing that, it stopped being funny for me and started feeling like, okay, recycle. The same as the other note that I wanted to jump on, which I will complain about, and I will fault them for, is doing the conflict between Woody and all the other toys.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you 100% on that. We have not allowed, and it's so weird analyzing a movie like this and taking it seriously and saying the thing I'm about to say, which is we have not allowed Ham to grow as a character, but we haven't. He's completely regressed. He had to learn in the first movie to trust Woody. And then you get to this movie, and once again, he doesn't trust him at all. And I felt that way a little bit at the beginning of 2. It's like this guy just won't let up. Like over and over again, it's got to be proven to him that Woody knows what he's doing. And is that just his permeating character thing?
Potato Head will drop something cynical on with him, and then That felt lazy to me.
Well, I thought so too. I kind of thought that was okay. That's his permeating character trait, and we have to do that in order to make in order to make the conflict more difficult for Woody to deal with. Like, why is everyone always against him?
Yeah, I mean,
he's I just feel like he's proven himself as a leader. I really feel like
after what they go through in the first few movies, it seems like the case ought to have been made by now.
It's important to note, of course, that the situations are different. That in the first movie, it's Ham thinks he's turned traitor. In the third movie, it's Ham didn't see what Woody saw. That they were actually put in a bag, but to go up in the attic, not to go outside. Yeah. Ham also has a good point of, well, even if you were right, we were put in a trash bag. We shouldn't have been put in a trash bag.
And he said we were all a bunch of junk.
Yeah, and he said that. So I mean, there's a case there. But I'm with you. I do still feel like it feels a little bit late. Like there should be like a grain of truth thing where it's like they're both right and they're both wrong, and they come to some sort of a consensus. I feel like what it was instead was manufacturing something to get the ball on the conflict rolling.
Yeah, and there was plenty of plot in this movie for that. I think this movie could have happened just fine without drawing that conflict up. And I'm at least glad that they didn't make us sit through the whole movie of Woody trying to prove himself to the other toys again.
Yeah.
But man, I could have done without that.
I think the setup is still necessary. I think the whole, they get put in a trash bag and then they almost get thrown away. I think that needs to happen. But I think what it should have been was a more subtle conversation where Ham says, look, this is proof that maybe we shouldn't keep staying with this kid, that he just doesn't need us anymore. We have become pointless now. In his life, and here's an alternative, let's go do this. What's really weird, and tell me if you have this, because I'm really on the fence about it. What's really weird is at the beginning, when they first go to the daycare, I'm kind of on everybody else's side. Like when Woody's we've all got to go back to be there for Andy, his worldview works. Yeah. It makes sense. I feel like that is in his character, but I'm on everybody else's side, and I feel like the way the movie has to make me more on Woody's side is simply by making this an evil place. What if it wasn't an evil place? And then at the end of the movie, it's not an evil place anymore, so they very easily could have gone to a daycare that wasn't like that. And it seems like the only thing that's really pushing, where the movie is really pushing for Woody's side is just, it turns out we went to yet another really horrible, evil place. And it seems like there's a lot of this evil underbelly toy stuff in this universe, which started with the first one and moves through this. So I'm not complaining that they did that.
Dialed up there as well. Yeah, I did find myself weary for a third installment of everybody against Woody.
Yeah, that's fair.
I did not...
Well, because you're right, he's got it in 2 with the collectibles, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. And in all 3 of them, it works out to be this rift between him and everybody else, and... I do like that he doesn't end up being.
I do like that he wasn't right at the end, where you get to the end and there is truth to both sides. So what I'm saying is they do finally play that. I just feel like there's certain nuances I feel like could have been handled differently. But when you get to the end, he has had a good character arc. It's not the exact same arc he had in the first movie, and he does give he does give up on Andy without having to hate Andy like the Lotso bear hated his kid. You know what I mean? Where it is, okay, he learns that there is a middle road. These are both extreme personalities, and he has to become a middle road one, which I think is the thing I really like about the movie, where like you get to this is the thing that I really latch onto, where you get to the end of the movie and he finds that middle ground between toys are for being thrown away eventually, and toys are for being being there for this one kid forever. There's this middle road place where it's simply about people loving objects and why they love them. And I like that this was about hand-me-downs. I think they did a pretty good job of finding some territory they hadn't covered yet. Where the second movie was about playing versus collecting, and this movie is about what you do with toys when you're done with them. And the whole idea of hand-me-downs are okay, and there's a certain immortality to the toys. I really like that because this is also a movie about mortality, and this idea of we get too old and we get thrown away. I felt like there was almost a thing with the daycare, like an old folks' home, where it's like we get too old and then we get thrown away and everyone forgets about us, and this place looks fun and inviting, but it's
in reality,
all about the fact
that rub green finger paint all over us.
But the whole place is at least from the toys perspective about the fact that we are no longer relevant. And so that's why I feel like it's a movie about getting old, to a degree, and then it stops being so much about like the whole human existence of getting old, like Up was, and this being more about actually the toys, because it's like they find their immortality. They realize, oh yes, if we find someone else that can love us like this other kid did, then we can continue going on.
And that isn't just anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was important too. I did think it was really kind of weird that I don't know, I could have used a little bit of kind of fun social commentary about daycare, because I felt like there was this weird divide where it's like, okay, little toddlers up to a certain age just beat the crap out of their toys and ruin them and don't care, and then once they hit a certain age they stop doing that. I don't know about that. Where exactly is that divide? It's like, really, or maybe that's what the social commentary is. Is that daycare kids? I mean, this is too much of a broad sweeping kind of idea, but daycare kids are terrors, and then something happens and they get more mature at some age, I guess. I don't know. I just thought that was a little bit strange.
The relationship with the toy, that's the heart of all three of these movies, is a function of the human imagination.
Well, yeah.
Here's the object. Here's Batman. He's my Batman. With my imagination, I make a person out of this plastic thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this imaginary person becomes something like kind of a friend to me, or a companion, or a part of my imagination that allows a part of me to take on flesh and existence in a form that otherwise it wouldn't be able to, because there's just not enough flesh and existence to cover all of it. But so the kind of toy relationship that we had between Andy and his toys at the beginning, and we see develop between Bonnie and her toys in there, is something that it makes sense to me that there would be a point in infant development where a child is to that point. You don't start off, you're not born with that kind of imaginative powers, you're not born with any mental powers at all much. And you grow, and your brain grows, and you learn what your hands are, and that they're attached to you, and you learn that objects still exist even when you're not looking at them. And then somewhere there's a developmental stage where kids can really play with a toy the way Bonnie or Andy played with theirs. Well, before that, they are as likely perhaps to shove shove things up their nose as
I don't,
with them.
I don't know about that. I don't feel like just because you're 2 means that you're going to pick up whatever you can get your hands on and beat the crap out of it and break things and stomp on them. Like, I guess that's kind of, a matter of parental discipline, but I just...
Well, that's probably some part of it. There's also, I think there's also an ingredient here where since we experience these stories from the perspective of the toys, I think there's some exaggeration involved.
That's possible. Although there's no exaggeration in what exactly happens to them.
I mean, yeah, but it seems more violent and more destructive from their perspective.
It certainly
than
seems
it
it
could possibly actually be.
But all I'm saying is there is a consistency to physically what happens in these movies. Jessie definitely got paint all over her hair. You know what I mean? Like that's not just from her perspective. She feels like she got a lot on her hair when it was just a little bit. It's not like that. But I do agree with you, and I think you make a really good point about like the relationship that the kids have with toys and how they see them as almost people, and then versus what they'd have before development. But what I really like about what you said is that's part of their development. That's actually part of their growing up. These toys are part of how they grow up, and that eventually they don't need them anymore because they've already done that. And so it's this kind of, and so I think that's a lot of what the movie is dealing with is this kind of there's this kind of sad bit in our relationship with items where they're like really relevant to us for the period of time that we really need them, and then we move on because they really are just inanimate objects. Like, if only the humans in this universe knew that the toys were sentient, they wouldn't treat them the way that they do. I think that's really interesting. But what I really like is that Andy remains a sympathetic character because it's not like he knows that. No. And then you get to the end of the movie, and this is why I like that ending more than you do. You get to the end of the movie, and he shows us that he still has a love for these toys. That he recognizes how important they were.
That certainly
to his growing up.
Redeem him from the beginning from the earlier scene,
and redeems him in their eyes as well.
That, yeah.
And I don't think that we ever get too far away from their perspective.
No, we don't.
And I think that's really important too. But okay, what else?
I can't really fault them, but I still can't forgive them for making a Snuggly Bear the villain.
Okay.
That was just never going to work for me, no matter how well they did it. Sorry, Pixar.
Why?
Because they're Snuggly Bears. Snuggly Bears are snuggly. They're not evil. They can't be.
Oh, okay.
This is why I'm not faulting Pixar for that. But it is another reason that... And having been spoiled on that was one reason that I avoided actually watching this movie for
Really?
time.
Oh, okay. All right.
I don't want to watch something where the Snuggly Bear is the villain. No.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Oh, and the kid grows up. Well, I don't really want to watch that either.
Well, I mean, that's fair, but I mean, it's just I like that they've always had a, and this is a theme that's run through all of these, that they've always had the idea of like you can't judge a cover or a book by its cover, right? I mean, like in the first movie, we had the opposite of that, where you had really creepy looking toys that were actually totally helpful. Benevolent and fine. Yeah. So.
In the second, we had the Prospector was kind of that.
Yeah. No, he absolutely was.
Although the Prospector and the Bear in this, I think, are very similar.
They have a lot in common. Yeah.
Where they're presented to us as these benevolent old leader figures.
At first.
And later on it turns out, oh no, they're actually evil dictators.
And even if I hadn't seen any advertising or anything for this movie, I would have immediately pegged him for the villain the moment we meet him.
Yeah.
For that very reason. And I think maybe it does have a little bit of that problem of it's remembering too much what it did last time, and it's borrowing a little bit of that again. So you can see that stuff coming. It's got to be hard to make 3 of these.
Oh yeah.
And
it's hard to make movies.
I really think ultimately that it doesn't have sequelitis, but I think that's a thing where I at least wasn't surprised by, and wouldn't have been surprised by it regardless of whether or not I knew he was the villain in the first place. But I don't know. I kind of like I kind of like his backstory because it's a little different than the Prospectors. It's not the same thing. And one of the things I really like about it is that because it really deals with these characters as inanimate objects. The idea that she lost them and immediately got a new one. And he's lost perspective to the point where he doesn't, or didn't have any, to the point where he doesn't realize that she replaced him because she loved him,
not because she didn't. Yeah.
But from her perspective, and well, I was gonna say from her perspective, every Lotso love bear, that's hilarious. Yeah. Is the same, and yet, maybe not. You know what I mean? Like maybe her because you don't see the other side of it. Maybe her parents bought her another one.
I'm sure they bought her another one almost immediately after losing the first.
And it may not even be good enough for her. You know what I mean? You don't see the other side of that. You don't know. You only get it from his perspective, and I think that's important. I like that they don't fill in the rest of that because you're really getting this very skewed, almost twisted version of it. And
no one in our story should know.
I always like how these movies make things that would seem otherwise kind of mundane and not a big deal really big deals. Just the fact that he tells the other toys that were there that they got replaced too, but they actually didn't, and that's the only reason that they've been with him on his kind of revenge trip, and with his kind of nihilistic philosophy. I like that. And I also like that he and Woody have entirely opposing philosophies.
Yeah.
And I thought that it's a neat examination of that because it's purpose versus nihilism.
It's
and
being an antagonist rather than just being a villain. That's good writing.
Yeah, well, and he has a reason for... He and Woody both have reasons for getting to where they got, because Andy, up until now, has never given him reason to not be loyal to him. Whereas this... And because of... And what's kind of funny is they take... Or what's cool is they take, and I think we all do this to some degree, their personal experiences and project them to the world as a philosophy. So Woody has his relationship with Andy and takes his experiences to mean that toys are about this. And the bear had his experience and takes that toys are about this. So just because of what limited experience he's had, he's decided toys are about getting thrown away. I don't have any reason to be anything but out for myself, because at the end of the day, I'm going to get thrown away also, and so I'm just going to get everything I can while I'm still alive. There's a lot.
Very human.
I know there's a lot of really adult stuff in this, but I really like that. It really does seem to be like I said, a purpose versus almost nihilistic kind of thing, and I really like that. I think he's a solid villain.
The toys in general have a tendency, have two really inherent tendencies in these movies, and I think I like this concept. Number one, as you say, it takes very little. It takes about one experience to form their entire universe view.
Yeah.
Because they do tend to be sort of plastic characters. Well,
a lot of their personality is based on however they were manufactured in the first place,
they are
right?
The thing
because the potato heads are who they are solely because of what they look like. A lot of that.
And the thing that they are, Woody's cowboyness, is integral to his everything, including his way of thinking and his way of relating to other toys, to humans.
Yeah.
The cowboyness of Woody, the dinosaurness of Rex, is his big issue, for better or worse. Another thing in all three of them that I think I'm behind is that toys really don't have the same capacity to learn and change from their experience that humans do. And that's part of why they and humans grow apart. Live humans are essentially inherently changing things, and the toy is inherently a static thing except for the various damage that accumulates over the course of its played with lifetime.
Or alternatively modifications.
Or whatever else happens, double brain transplant surgery, or
well, with the second one, for instance, how would being restored have changed Woody if he had accepted it and stayed with it? So you have identity issues based on what you look like and what's happened to you over time and all that stuff. I feel like though that certain toys get to change and certain toys don't. Right? Like I feel like Buzz and Woody are not the same characters in this they were at the beginning of the first one, or even the end of the first one.
Possible.
Because they, or maybe that's the one exception. Maybe the whole friendship thing between them is kind of the one exception. Because Woody does still make some of the same sorts of mistakes throughout, but then he gets over the jealousy thing pretty quick.
Quicker than he did before, certainly.
So you're definitely onto something there. I just don't know that the films are entirely consistent with that idea.
No, well, if they were entirely consistent with it, then there would be no protagonist and there'd be no plot.
Well, no, you're absolutely right.
And you can't ride that horse all the way into the sunset. But something about the unchangingness of toys compared to the changingness of humans is, I think, central to all three of these movies.
Well, and also isn't that the end of this movie ultimately kind of trying to say that's part of what's wonderful about these toys is that they don't change.
Yeah,
to a degree, where I don't mean personality wise, I mean just as the objects that the humans would perceive them as. This little girl is going to appreciate them for some of the same reasons that Andy did. Now she'll project her own characters on them. She will kind of change them. But again, that immortality thing, the idea that the toys don't change and we do, and that's what Woody sees as a limitation in the first place. That Woody grows up, he changes. I don't know, Woody. Andy grows up, he physically changes. They never do, and at the end, he finds that can be a strength and not a weakness.
Yeah, that's redeeming.
So yeah, so it is. It's kind of a neat kind of examination and almost deconstruction of how we look at inanimate objects and why they're important to us. But looking at the consistency, another consistency issue of how these toys as characters function in this universe. I quibbled about this with the other two. Here, it kind of comes out in full force, and I really feel the need to talk about it. I sometimes do not understand where the personalities of these characters come from. And it really seems to just be a conceit. We're not supposed to question it. And then when the movie starts doing things that make me question it, I can't help but question it. I do not understand the reprogramming Buzz Lightyear thing. It makes no sense at all. And how he gets back from it makes even less sense. But is it that if you're an electronic toy and you have a computer in you, sort of, that the way your personality works is different than if you're just an Etch-a-Sketch? Because it's not like every time you erase the Etch-a-Sketch, he forgets who he is. But then Buzz apparently didn't lose his memory entirely. He just had temporary amnesia. And then it comes back. I don't know how any of that works, and I don't think I'm supposed to. I'm not going to sit here and analyze this real hard. My point is that is padding, plain and simple, right? Like if I can't ask about it, if I can't talk about it, it's there because it's funny and it's giving Buzz something to do. I feel like
Rule of Funny had a lot to do with that.
I feel like and also it's doing what this movie does in a lot of places, which is going back to the first movie and trying to recycle things in new ways and kind of making the old new again and that kind of thing, which I don't know that it's always effective at. You clearly don't think it's always effective. With Buzz, I kind of feel like it's the same problem they had a little bit in 2, which was they just can't figure out what to do with him. It's like that character existed. Tell me if you think I'm right about this. That character existed to make a particular story for the first movie, and Woody, for whatever reason, it's easier to tell stories with, and that's why it remains his movies for the most part. There are more dual protagonists in the first one. Especially in that third act when Buzz finally comes to the realization that he's a toy and he has to deal with that. I think at that point it becomes very dual protagonist. But with Buzz, in the first movie, he was there for Woody to have a reason to be jealous, so that the movie could say something about children grabbing onto whatever is new right now and forgetting about their old stuff. That's what that movie was about. What do you continue doing with that character afterwards? Once Andy comes to a place where he appreciates both of them as equals. I mean so with this movie, he, like with the second one, he kind of just becomes a joke again. And actually, I guess with the second one, it was more just the second Buzz Lightyear running around thinking that he's a real Buzz Lightyear. I didn't even understand.
Dad.
I couldn't figure out why in the world they're all programmed in such a way where when they first come out of the box, they think they're the real Buzz Lightyear. That never made any sense to me. So it's consistent in that the programming has something to do with their personalities. But like, why?
Maybe if you're
why does that work? Like, why is he able to reset him back to factory? And then where is his personality when he's reset back to factory? Like, why are we able to bring that back even? He just gets hit on the head and comes back. That's not where his actual brain is. This thing blows my mind. I don't understand it.
That may be a special vulnerability that only the more computerized, electronic-y kind of toys would have. The older, more traditional toys, your solid plastic or wooden toys.
Or metal, back when we were allowed to do that.
Their personality is somehow more stable because it's encoded in physical objectness, whereas Buzz Lightyear, the new generation of toys, it's all computerized and electronical, his personality is software, and therefore reprogramming is possible for him in a way that you cannot reprogram Slinky Dog.
Are you making this into the classic science fiction question of would an AI have a soul?
Isn't that what all three of these are about? To
a degree, yeah. Except that they're not artificially intelligent in the first place, and even with a computer, he's not, obviously. But I'm just saying that, it sounds like we're almost coming down on this as once you add more sophisticated technology, you start changing what the soul of toys is.
Or at least how soul interacts with matter.
I just feel like we've already taken this too far. Yeah, but I mean, but you see why I'm saying I don't understand.
It was your question.
No,
Where
it is.
Where do their
personalities come from? I don't know. Did it bother you?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's just me then. Did you question it? Like I did?
I wondered.
Tell me you at least question it when he gets hit on the head and he gets his personality back.
He didn't get hit on the head. He gets a TV set dropped on him, for crying out loud.
On his head?
On his everything.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's here. The TV set engulfs him as it falls. So
yeah, okay.
His whole body takes that impact.
That's true.
And since the Spanish switch was mechanically activated by pushing something small in that little hole,
but
the vibration of that, I could see.
But it wasn't the Spanish switch that changed him. It was resetting him to factory.
Well, both of them. I mean, both of these, switching him to demo mode.
Or was it demo mode? Okay.
Had some type of effect, because that wiped his memories of Woody and everybody, and left him vulnerable to reprogramming.
You're right. It wasn't.
There.
It wasn't fat. It was the demo mode. So if you click it back, that's supposed to just put. Okay. All right. Well, never mind.
And it was them holding the button too long that switched him to Spanish. That brought back the
Spanish thing. Yeah.
So.
Which I would figure that would make him just talk in Spanish, not like suddenly have a whole Spanish personality. But obviously they did that just because it's funny, and I can't argue with it. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed that, and it was worth it to me just to get the Spanish version of the "You Got a Friend in Me" song, which I think is just rocking.
That was cool.
That is a neat arrangement.
Another thing I thought was cool. I was glad to see. It was good to see Sid again.
Oh yeah. I completely whoosh! I forgot that was in the theater. I caught it. I forgot that was him. Yeah, that's fun. And he's what's funny is he's totally different now. He's enjoying his life. That's happy. Cool. He's still a punk rocker, but
he seems to have really found his sweet place. And good on him.
Yeah, that is pretty fun. One of my favorite things about this movie. Let's talk about some positives. I want more positives from you because surely there's other things you actually did like. One of the things I think this movie does great, and the other two did this too, of course, but this one I think maybe even more, was just paying everything off. Just everything.
Yeah.
Stuff you never thought would come back. Like the army guys come back at the end. That was super cool. The claw thing wasn't just a throwaway gag. They actually made it a plot point.
The claw.
When the aliens go the claw and they run after it, the first thing I thought was, why would you run toward the claw? You're like weren't you happy once the claw finally came down and took you out? Like why are you hoping it takes you like are you seeing the Earth as a claw machine now and you want it to take you someplace else? And then it turned out that is it Men in Black? And then it turns out that they actually had a reason for running toward it, and I thought that was a really cool plot point.
Yeah, that came as close as possible to redeeming the scene of all the toys to hell.
Yeah, that's right.
Which that whole scene was about.
That's actually a really good point. Or at least facing their
that imagery
mortality head on. Yeah, but you're right. It is hell imagery.
It's not. They've been. Before it's been just being neglected or getting lost under a bed, or being stuck in a box. But here it's being melted down.
But they're facing exactly what Lotso said that the existence of toys is ultimately about. That there is no point. You simply live, you get played with, and then you get thrown away. And they're meeting the smelting pot. I mean where the trash gets incinerated. I don't know. I really like that. I gotta say, the first time I saw it, I think I was a little bit I think this actually, and I'm not telling you have to watch it again if you don't want to watch it again, but I find this movie is better on repeat viewings. I've seen it probably 2 or 3 times, or probably 3 times now, and the first time I saw it, I was mortified by that scene. Like, I think I was a little bit more in the place you are now of being a little bit depressed by it. Like when I've seen it again, knowing they get it, because I gotta be honest with you, as dark as this gets, and I'm gonna say that, it gets a little, as dark as this allows itself to get, I wasn't sure they all make it. Like, in the theater, I kind of wasn't sure they all make it.
You could not take that for granted. Which I guess is supposed to be a thing. They call it suspense or something, but
yes, Jeff. That's exactly what that is. Yeah, it's
I can respect suspense, but I don't enjoy it. But yeah, that was dark stuff in this movie, and the gaping maw of fire sucking all of them into it. That went pretty far.
It did, but
the claw.
But it's about what happens. But it's about what ultimately happens, right? I mean, it ultimately is an optimistic film. It ultimately is about these people sticking together as a family. I think that's really important. That like the aliens. That it's funny, but I also don't think that it's just a gag way to get out of it. I think it's also they stuck together. They survive because they have themselves not like they can't rely on humans because to the humans they are inanimate objects. So I mean I just feel like they have to somewhat come to, at least Woody has to somewhat come to terms with the fact that there is some truth to what Lotso says, and I'm glad they meet that head on at the end, but don't actually. I'm I think I like that we went that far. But obviously, I think you would agree that for the sake of the narrative, it's quite good. This is a taste thing, right? You didn't like seeing it, and for me, I'm not actually.
I'm not going to fault that as storytelling or anything.
I'm not having any problem allowing my sense of narrative and story and stuff in this to merge with my taste, because that's what I'm liking about this so much. I'm fine with it.
This is why I could never be a writer. I realized at some point I cannot be a writer.
Because you don't want to put your characters that you create and then fall in love with in these kinds of precarious situations.
Yeah, I don't have the heart for that. I don't have the nerve for that.
But you're absolutely right. That is what storytelling is about. Because don't you care more about characters that can get themselves out of situations like that? And yes, we don't actually see them get out of it. The aliens pull them out, but I mean they're in that group too. I could see somebody crying foul on that and saying, "Oh, I would have rather seen Woody or Buzz find a way to get out of it." But when they all kind of hold hands and they think this is it, and they're ready to go out and stuff,
you see it in their faces.
I mean, like that's mortifying. Like again, we're with their perspective the whole time. If you take this outside of these toys and you look at them as inanimate objects, who cares? You know, like if you were just standing on the outside and somehow able to peer in and look at that incinerator and a bunch of toys got burned up, who really cares? It's neat that they're able to make you feel that much about it. I like this one more than the second one. I really do. I think it's a better story. And I also like that they don't go quite as far with the whole toys doing stuff in the real world thing. We don't have a scene of them like jumping onto an airplane wing. You know, like that stuff was hard for me with the first one, or with the second one a little bit.
Use the wand of power.
I think the second one goes to such ridiculous and preposterous places that it's hard to prepare yourself for this one.
Yeah, there's a harshness to it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. I like it, but I can't. But I mean, you're right. I mean, there is a harshness to it. I like that it allows itself to go there personally.
I can respect that.
Well, and I can respect your position, sure. But I'm just saying that's the difference. It's not. It's the kind of thing that's definitely not going to be for everyone. I think, and I think that's kind of an important thing to note is that the first one is. That's a really accessible movie. Do you find it intriguing? I just thought of this, that the first movie was almost a really mean-spirited thing.
Boy, it could have gone there.
I've watched a documentary about Pixar and what they were talking about doing with Toy Story in the first place, and it was going to be a lot darker and not have the kind of heart that it does. And I think they brought some of that into this, but then, in my opinion, still kind of kept the heart and made it not a different thing. It's not a different thing. I almost
wonder if they didn't actually some of what got knocked out of the first movie in the drawing room stage. They didn't recall back for this one because they did have to rewrite the story from scratch.
Yeah,
there was going to be a completely different plot altogether. When
really?
Well, because this movie was in production and design during the period of the kind of breakup and rematch of Pixar and Disney.
That's right.
For legal reasons, Disney got to keep rights to the characters and rights to keep making sequels, even if Pixar left them. So Disney was going to make a sequel, Toy Story 3, on its own without Pixar.
Oh, wow.
And only the fact that they got back together saved us from a really terrible third installment.
Yeah, that's really good, because I've seen Planes, and
it would have been really terrible. I'm pretty confident about that. And when they reunited and the stock was bought by whatever, I don't know, Lord Business got involved. But they put Lasseter in charge of Disney Animation, which cannot.
Well, you know, I said Planes. Lasseter actually produced that movie, but I'm just saying that we have now had stuff in a Pixar universe from Disney, and I didn't like it.
Can't win them all.
Yeah.
But
didn't hate it. It just was kind of a nothing thing for me.
But yeah, the reunion. Part of that deal, Pixar took the Toy Story back and shredded completely the storyline that was in development.
I'd love to know what it was. I mean, I just would be a little curious.
There are hints about it online.
Oh, okay, I'll look into that at some point.
Yeah, it would have been a sequel, and it would have, from all I've been able to read about it, it was headed straight for direct-to-video territory.
Before we quit, let's talk about a few just fun little minor things. I want to ask you really, really super minor, tiny things. There's something I wanted to ask you about. Was it implied at the end during the credits that the dinosaur that the girl dinosaur was talking to on the internet across houses, in fact, was Rex in the first place?
I didn't catch that.
I didn't either till this viewing. And I wonder if, because she says, I was talking to this other dinosaur, and then they're actually playing together on the same keyboard, and it makes me wonder if Rex was the dinosaur.
That would be so funny.
But there wasn't a computer in that room, I don't think. So that's the only thing that made me wonder about it.
Well, there hadn't been, but you know.
But maybe there. Yeah, you're right. Well,
he
could have had
when Andy was 6.
Oh, but there could have been. He could have had a laptop at 17.
Yeah. Well, he did. In fact, we saw it.
Then I probably am right about that then.
You might be.
There's really fun little things. I love how old the dog is.
Yeah, the fat old dachshund.
That's hilarious.
Which is exactly what happens to dachshunds if you're not very, very careful.
Oh, goodness. Well, that makes it sadder, because that means that mother should have been more careful with her pets.
Yeah, well, she should have. Dachshunds will eat every bit of food that you set in front of them, no matter
really? I didn't know
or
that.
not. So if
How
they're
do
like
you know
fish
this?
that way. They are like fish that way. So if you give them too much food, they will eat it all and then suffer the consequences of eating too much food.
Oh, geez.
Which include, among lots of other things, getting really fat.
But they played it for comedy, and it was kind of funny.
At least they did. I'm glad they weren't crueler to him than that.
Yeah, well, and you know, it kind of played with the themes of aging and you know, not being useful anymore and all of that. And I kind of like that Woody forgets that other creatures change.
Yeah, and the dog is a sort of a halfway point between humans and the toys.
That's important. Yeah, good point.
He's a bridge that I wouldn't have been sure before him could possibly exist.
These movies, regardless of the soul thing always being really strange and me not getting how it works sometimes, always has really
no one gets how it works with humans either. So
a really good grasp. Well, I guess less the soul thing and more just how the sentience works. But like there's always a pretty good grasp on what the rules are, and this movie sometimes will introduce some new ones. One of them is that if you have that telephone toy, you have to actually talk into the receiver in order to talk to the telephone.
I love that that's how that works.
That was awesome. And they took the thing that they played with a little bit and introduced with Potato Head in the second one, with if their limbs are anywhere outside of their body, they still have feeling in them and can use them. I really like that they have a window into the house with her eye. That's cool. And then they do the tortilla bit, which creeped me the heck out.
Man, that would... If I had seen this movie when I was little, stuff with Mr. Tortilla Head...
Mr. Tortilla Head
would have sent me running, screaming into the night.
Would you have had nightmares like I did about Brave Little Toaster? Because I think it's on that level.
Oh, yeah. That...
I'm not going to say it's not funny, but it bothered me.
That was funny in a really weird way.
Once he was a cucumber, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, and the cucumber
I think he was a cucumber. I kept wondering if it was a cucumber or a pickle, but I think it was a cucumber.
I'm thinking cucumber.
I don't know where he found it. I guess he was just laying outside somewhere. There was a cucumber.
Someone threw it in the trash.
I guess he got. Did he wind up in the trash? I think he did.
Could be.
Yeah, but anyway. The stuff that Geoff seemed to crack up about the most, I was noticing, was the Ken Barbie stuff.
That was really hilarious,
and could have been not hilarious. Like because when they introduced the whole Barbie thing in the second one, I remember thinking, you know, they could take this way too far in a sequel, and was kind of glad she was still around at the end, but wondered because you remember the whole pilot Barbie thing where she's like bye bye, like in the end credits in the second one. It's like my face hurts. Can I quit smiling now? I kind of thought the whole Ken Dreamhouse thing and all that was pretty frickin' funny.
Yeah, that was delightful.
And sort of helped the bad guys not just be bad guys.
Yeah.
A little bit, because they were just thrown into this horrible oppressive system, and it was the only way they could survive. I love the backroom poker game.
Yeah.
That was pretty hilarious. where they were playing with Monopoly money.
And you notice the bear wasn't in that?
No, he wasn't. Because they're like henchmen. It was like your
henchman, kind of off hours.
It was your classic like gangster henchman in like a 40s movie in a back room playing poker. It was that scene. Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
It was a nice shout. And not the sharpest knife in the
wherever they put the knives. Yeah, there's a lot of really fun. I think it's pretty tight joke wise.
Yeah, the jokes are good. The funny parts are funny.
But you just thought the dramatic parts were too dramatic.
Yeah. Well, the dramatic parts are not what I go to a Pixar movie looking for.
That's fair. It's a whole package for me, but...
And that's, Shakona Sangu. The,
What a wonderful phrase! Oh.
That's different.
It doesn't mean no worries.
No, it
for
doesn't.
the rest of your days.
And it's certainly not a problem-free philosophy.
No, it's no. I guess it's not.
The Triceratops, by the way, was Kristen Schaal.
Who's that?
Who you may remember from the singing the elevator verse of Tacky.
Oh, that's who that was?
That's who that was.
Oh, okay.
She's actually been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I love that video.
Including a lot of stuff I haven't seen, but she was there. The Usual Suspects. They got Ned Beatty for the bear.
He was great. I thought he was sort of doing an Andy Griffith.
Yeah, it's sort of kind of somewhere between Andy Griffith and Andy Griffith's evil twin.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, Andy Griffith has played villains, and that reminded me of what he sounds like when he plays villains. I can't remember who. I think he did an animated villain at one point, and it sounded a lot like that, and I can't remember who it was. Now, that whole movie, I kept thinking, what was it? And I didn't think to look it up before we did this, but maybe I'll go look it up after this, because I just can't remember what it was. But if it was anything, or maybe I'm totally out of my mind, but...
And the clown was the narrator voice for the short Bounden.
Who we looked up because Geoff thought he recognized.
We had to check that.
We looked him up, and it turns out he's one of their one of their main character designers, and worked on the first Toy Story, and worked on a bunch of Sesame Street stuff way back in the day, in the 70s, and did Ladybug Picnic. And when I found out that, I was like, that's really cool. So like he's a voiceover guy, but he's mostly a character designer,
animation veteran.
Yeah, really cool.
But which was funny, because at first we thought that Ned the bear was that same voice.
Yeah.
And it turns out the clown was that same voice. The clown at first, for the first few words he said, I thought, oh my gosh, it's Doc Hudson. It can't be Doc Hudson, because that actor is dead.
Yeah.
And I'm a chump for not being able to cough his name up.
I can't think of it right now either.
Because it'll hit me later and I'll feel incredibly stupid.
Well, anyway, anything else we ought to hit? I feel like we kind of covered the gambit pretty well.
Let's see. Rewinding.
Is this the one that you and I have so far disagreed the most on?
Probably.
I think so. Yeah. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, I really wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure what your take on it would be.
Yeah. I mean, it's well made in all the ways that Pixar movies have always been well made, up to this point at least.
So you're not saying it's phoned in or anything?
No, I wouldn't dream of criticizing it as a movie for the things that make it a movie that I avoided for very strong reasons, and which I'll probably continue to avoid.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Well, then I'm sorry you had to see it since you didn't want to, but you signed up for this.
I signed on.
I'm
getting you to watch Brave.
I'm going to watch Brave, which I've still never seen.
Fair is fair.
And this is going to be cool because now we've done one that you never saw, and here in a couple of these, we're going to do one that I've never seen. I'm glad we each had one. A little more fair that way, but I'm glad that we each had one. We only have 3 movies left to do in Pixar discussions. Now I'm sure.
And the short films.
Oh yes, and we're gonna do the short films. Good call. And then obviously as they keep coming out, we may come back and do these. Like for the new ones, I think it would be cool to do these either upon release or upon DVD release as they come out. Next time we've got Cars 2. We've only got, like I said, 3 theatrical movies after this. So it's Cars 2, it's Brave, and then it's Monsters University. So I at least know that one of these 3 I super freaking love. So kind of, it's not gonna be hard for you to figure out which one that is.
Yeah.
So Cars 2 next time. 2 sequels in a row. That could not have helped Cars because there were already a lot of people that didn't love the first one, and I think a lot of people were complaining when Cars got a sequel and Incredibles didn't, and stuff like that. I mean, we know now that Incredibles is getting one, but this was back before we ever knew if it would ever get one.
This was back when Toy Story was the only thing that got sequels.
I think they've said now that the model is going to be a new movie and then a movie in a franchise each year, which I'm really glad they're going with that.
Balance.
I mean, a part of me would rather get 3 or 4 originals in a row, but I am glad that they're promising. At least the last thing I read, we're not going to do 2 sequels in a row anymore. But that's probably partly
a good idea.
Business choice, wouldn't you figure?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they paid for that.
But I don't know. Well, it's a lesson well learned, and I'm glad that's happening. Cars 2 next time. So anyway, anything else you wanted to talk about before we head off into not internet land?
What is the claw really about?
You know, as soon as I said that, I was like, wow, I could write a really bogus dissertation on this.
You could. Someone out there probably will.
Yep, somebody will.
Getting some college credit, and that's why it's important to keep watching the internets.
Well, anyway, thanks everybody for watching Pixar Discussion. We sure appreciate it, and we'll see you again, hopefully pretty soon with Cars 2. I am Captain Logan.
You are?
I am. I'm Captain Logan.
Well, then who am I?
You're the Geoff.
Oh, right!
Yep.
And I'm the Geoff.
See you next time.